Hi everybody, Happy New Year! Today I want to talk about the year 2021 and what that might bring in terms of new Beatles products and solo releases from John, Paul, George and Ringo. If that's the kind of thing that you're interested in and you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so because I'll be following these releases throughout the year. 2020 of course didn't go according to anybody's plan in any way whatsoever. In terms of Beatles related releases, of course, we did get the Flaming Pie Archive collection. We got McCartney 3, which none of us could have expected, and the John Lennon Gimme Some Truth box set. But there were certain things that we thought were going to be coming that are now going to be held over to this year. So first of all, in terms of the Beatles themselves, so the big one, obviously, we didn't get the new Peter Jackson Get Back movie last year. That's now been delayed to August the 27th this year is due for its release, hopefully in cinemas if they're back up and running properly by then. But of course we're also expecting some kind of a box set, probably similar to the Sgt. Pepper White Album Abbey Road box sets that we've had over the past few years. And I would certainly expect to get something similar along these lines, and probably about the same time of year as well, maybe just after. This is going to be my speculation, of course, but I would expect that to come in September if the movie does come out at the back end of August as expected. But what could we expect in that box set? Well, this is a really interesting one because with the three that we've had already, it was a remix of the album that's known. Will that be the case with Let It Be? Will they do a remix of the 1970 Let It Be album? Or will that almost be sort of completely disregarded and a brand new mix created, a bit like we had with Let It Be Naked a few years back? And I think that's a complete unknown, really. We don't know how that's going to go. But if any remix of a Beatles album is going to go on a different path, it could be potentially Let It Be. Other things that we might get with that, I think it's certainly a good possibility that we'll get the Glyn Johns mix, or one of the Glyn Johns mixes of the albums released along with the album, and hopefully loads and loads of sessions, as well as the full rooftop concert. That would be great if we could have, let's say for example, a standalone vinyl release of the rooftop concert. That would be really good. So I don't expect anything else from the Beatles this year, certainly not a major thing. There's talk, for example, about, you know, what the next remixes that we might get. Revolver, for example, it's the 55th anniversary, if you can call 55 an anniversary this year. I don't think we'll get that this year just because of certain other things that I'm going to talk about. I think the marketplace is going to be a little too crowded. So I think for this year, in terms of the Beatles, Get Back around about August and September will be the key thing to look at. So with that Beatles product dominating the latter half of the year, and you'd expect probably as well that they'll want to get lots of Christmas sales in terms of DVDs, Blu-rays, box sets, etc. I would expect the solo Beatles products that we're going to get this year to probably come in the first part of the year, and maybe done and dusted by about July, so that they can then clear the decks ready for all the Let It Be and Get Back stuff that's going to come. So first of all, let's have a look at George. So we would have expected hopefully the All Things Must Pass box set to have come last year. We now pretty much know it's not been announced yet, but we know that remix is coming. We've had it. The title track has been released on YouTube, etc. We've seen that. We've heard that. That sounds really good, and we know that a box set's coming now. We should be getting that, I think, probably around about springtime. The big question is, will we get All Things Must Pass first or John's Plastic Ono Band set? Probably, I would think the first part of the year is going to be taken up with those two products. And again, this is me speculating, but I think an announcement could be imminent for one of those. I think in the next couple of weeks or so, we could see one of those officially announced. Maybe for a release sort of, let's say back end of February-ish, and the other one may be coming around about April. But hopefully by April we will have had the Plastic Ono Band and the All Things Must Pass box sets released. Now, I said I was concentrating on George at the moment there. The other thing, if you're not already aware, for George Harrison is at the back end of February, there's a Bob Dylan album coming out that focuses on his 1970 sessions, and is containing his session that he did with George Harrison, which was, I think it was the 1st of May 1970. It was kind of just before the All Things Must Pass sessions when George and Bob got like about 20 songs that they recorded on that day, and that's coming at the back end of February. I'll put a link to that in the description if you're not aware of that already, where you can see that. But that's going to be very interesting, but I don't see it getting in the way of an All Things Must Pass box set at all. I don't expect anything else particularly from the George camp this year. You know, they're so slow moving. In theory, if they were going down this 50th anniversary route, we could potentially get a concert for Bangladesh release at the end of this year. I'm not particularly holding out much hope for that, although I'd love to have it, because it's something I've never really concentrated on myself. I'd love to have a proper release of it and learn more about it. But I just don't see them doing 2 releases in 1 year. And like I say, I think the back end of the year might be occupied with the Get Back and Let It Be release anyway. So yeah, for George, All Things Must Pass box set, I think hopefully out by about April. I briefly mentioned John there a minute or so back, his Plastic Ono Band release. So again, assuming that that's going to be coming during sort of early to late spring of this year. We know that there's about something like 159 remixes are going to be in this box set. That information's already kind of officially come out, although we don't know what they are as yet. The big question for me is, will that box set include Yoko's Plastic Ono Band album? It may well do. You know, that Yoko album had John was heavily featured playing on that, as was Ringo, Klaus Voormann. The band that made John's Plastic Ono Band album also made Yoko's during those same sessions. So I think it would be a surprise if the Yoko album's left out of that box set. We will see. Would you want that to be part of it? Let me know in the comments whether you would or not. Personally, I would like to see something in there around that. But as for whether we get any other John releases, I don't think so. The 50th anniversary decks have been cleared. In theory, it would be an Imagine box set, but they got that out to us a couple of years ago, so that's kind of cleared the decks there. We don't need that, and I don't see any other John product coming out until maybe next year. Will they think that there's worth in a Sometime in New York City box set in 2022 for the 50th anniversary? That'll be interesting. In terms of Ringo, I think regular viewers will know that I'm not particularly the person to keep you up to date on Ringo news, so I'm not going to go into any detail there. I'm going to move on to Paul McCartney. Now, as usual, this is the one where anything and everything could potentially happen. And there's so much that I've thought of that I've had to make some notes on this one so that I don't forget any of it. So what could we get from Paul? Well, this is my speculation, okay? Let's be clear about that. But obviously, of course, in terms of a studio album, we've just been blessed with McCartney 3 that none of us could have predicted a year ago. So I certainly don't predict any kind of studio album from Paul this year. But there's, in terms of projects that he's been working on, there's a couple of things that potentially we might see something from this year. So there's the It's a Wonderful Life stage musical that Paul's been working on the music for. Now, I know obviously the theatre industry has been absolutely savaged over the last year. When it's going to return properly, I don't know. Whether that can happen later this year, who knows? I certainly don't. But if there is progress on that, then maybe we might see some kind of output on that later this year, but not really holding my breath. The other thing is the High in the Clouds animated film. Now, this was sort of a year or two ago. This was sold to Netflix, so they're expecting it. So hopefully there can be something happen with that this year. That would be great to see what exactly is going to be in that. So keep a lookout for that potentially. Before we get on to his bigger releases, the other one that I think could slot in without affecting anything else is, if we look back to earlier on this year, it was the 50th anniversary of the McCartney album, and a little bit later on, delayed because of COVID, we got the McCartney Half-Speed remaster. And it's fantastic. I absolutely love that. And it got me thinking, please can we have one for Ram? I mean, that would be something that I personally would love to see. I wouldn't be surprised if for a record store day release at some point, maybe late spring, May, June time, that we get a half-speed remaster of the Ram album, and that would be fantastic. But then looking to the bigger things, so obviously archive collections and the separate vinyl reissue programme that Paul's been doing over the last few years. We've not seen a release on that since July 2018, so hopefully that's due. I mean, potential ideas there for things that we could get. It's often featured albums that have had an archive release already, but maybe the vinyl stocks are running low, so they're getting it back out in print and on coloured vinyl. So that gives us potential for Flowers in the Dirt, Wildlife, Red Rose Speedway, possibly for coloured vinyl releases. Too early for Flaming Pie yet, I think. But then there's other albums that are maybe less likely to get an archive collection release, but not many people have got them on vinyl because of when they were released, and vinyl not been a big thing at the time. So Driving Rain, Memory Almost Full, Twin Freaks, possibly All the Best, Tripping the Life Fantastic, Run Devil Run, or go more left field with classical albums, or the Rupert album or something like that would be fantastic. There's all sorts of possibilities there for vinyl reissues, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens maybe towards the back end of the year, maybe sort of November time, in time for Christmas. The initial rush for the Get Back and Let It Be products will have died down, and that would be some good Christmas sales for Paul, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. That leaves him with some time earlier on in the year to do another archive collection. Am I being optimistic here? I think I probably am, but what the heck, it's fun to speculate. So in terms of the archive collection, the obvious place that a lot of Paul fans want him to go to next is London Town and Back to the Egg, and that would be fantastic, although I have said in other videos reasons why I would rather get other ones first. And I just wonder whether this might not be the right year to release London Town and Back to the Egg archive collections. And the reason why I'm wondering that is because we know that it's going to be expensive for Beatles fans later on the year with the Let It Be and Get Back products. We know it's going to be expensive for Beatles fans if you want it to be expensive for you with the All Things Must Pass box set, Plastic Ono band. Will Paul look at what he knows is coming and think, you know, maybe now's not the time to put out my most expensive box set, because it will be, if they do it like the combined Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway set, that was a very expensive box, and I wonder whether he would think now's not the right year to do that because of all the other things. It might harm the sales, potentially, I don't know. Would he decide that it would be better to go with one of the potential smaller archive collections that could be done as a one album collection only, and focus on that, maybe Off the Ground or Press to Play? I would love a Press to Play archive collection, that would be fantastic. But I wonder whether he might think, well, let's get one of the smaller archive collections out rather than this huge combined box that we're all kind of expecting. I wonder. I don't know, but that there would be some logic in there if they go down that route, I think. There's also potential for another direction for the archive collection, which I've talked about on previous videos, and you know, I'm probably going to sound a bit silly here, but in the very slightest off chance that there is anybody from either Capitol Records or MPL watching this video, please get in touch with me, because there's something that I think you're missing that needs to start soon, if it's going to start at all, and I would love to have the chance to talk through it with you. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'll maybe discuss it further in another video, but I would love to talk about this massive omission that I can see. Anyway, moving on. That's kind of what I think. So I'm going to kind of on screen now you can see kind of a map, which we'll find out maybe at the end of the year whether I've talked absolute nonsense here or whether there's some merit to it, but this is roughly how I could potentially see this year 2021 going for Beatles and the solo Beatles products. So yeah, that's my thoughts. It's going to be another expensive year, folks, that's for sure. If we want it to be expensive, you know, lots of people complain when these products put out, but I always think, you know, I don't like this word cash grab. I don't think nobody's grabbing my cash. I'll spend it if I want to, and I'll hang on to it if I don't want what's been offered. There's plenty of Beatles related products that I haven't bought over the last few years because I didn't think it was worth my cash. Nobody has grabbed my cash. I've willingly given it over when I've wanted to. But this is what I think. I would love to hear your comments as always about whether you agree with this. What would you like to see? When would you like to see it? And let's hope 2021 is a better year for everybody in every possible way. I will see you again very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.